Dun, dun, dun.
I nearly did that and then I didn't. What's your initial reaction just to the word goal?
I resent them, especially at the new year.
Okay, yeah, well, what's the difference between a goal and a resolution, do you reckon? In your mind,
Nothing, nothing. I look at them in the same way. I feel about them the same way. I'm sure there's nuances, but I feel the same counterculture rebel inside of me responding to both.
have you ever set specific goals and it been helpful?
So I was thinking about this because we talked about this episode topic the other day. And I was like, have I ever? I don't know if I've ever set a goal the way people do. I probably have when it had come to like food and weight and stuff like that, but I'm even trying to think about if I'd set other kinds of goals. And I think I've always been resistant to it. And I don't believe that there's no merit in goals, but I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think. It's hard to scan my whole life, but like I don't think I have. Have you?
Well, when I started YouTube, my goal was to do a video every week for a year and then decide if I wanted to continue.
Okay.
So there's process goal and outcome goals. When you and I started the Life After Diets podcast, in theory, we set a goal to do 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And then we were going to have a conversation about whether to carry on. But we knew by episode
We
3.
did. I would consider that a plan.
Okay, well, this is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because yeah, when you bring up that side of things, I'm like, oh, well, in that case, if we're talking about goals like that, I would have had millions. Like there would have been so many, but I would have not called it a goal because I'm very casual about these things because I don't want to feel like I failed. And that's really what my resistance is with goals is that it becomes this pressure container that if I don't do it or if life gets in the way or if I mean there's so much unpredictability in anything. And so that if that happened, I feel like it doesn't give room. And therefore when I approach anything that would potentially be a goal, I would think of it as just like this is the rough outline, this is the plan. If it doesn't happen, I haven't failed.
Well, here's the difference then, I think, between process goals and outcome goals. A process goal is just the process, like saying, I'm going to do a video every week. Whereas an outcome goal would be, I'm going to hit 1 million
Yeah.
subscribers.
Yeah. It's
And so
scarier.
for me, I don't like outcome goals because when I set them, especially if they're big goals, there's so much outside of my control in there, so many
Yeah.
different factors that I find that stressing. And when people, again, so people talk about having a 5-year plan, that's using the word plan for your business, for example, or for where you want to be in life. I hate that. I hate the idea of a 5-year,
Yeah.
anything like that, looking that far ahead. I just want to be focusing on the next thing with perhaps a broader intention
Yeah.
around it. Do you have any goals or should we say plans for 2026 when you look ahead to the year? Is there a plan that some people could call a goal if they were not adverse to the language?
Sure. Yes, I have some things I'm planning to do in work that
Mhm.
I would like to. Yeah. Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Loosely.
And maybe there's something about that. Maybe a goal feels a bit more formal, does it?
Yes. I think on a personal individual level it feels too narrow. Doesn't leave room for me to change my mind. But it also offers direction and intention in a way that might not otherwise. So I understand the merit of the idea. I think some of the resistance I have comes from the cultural obsession with them. And I was an occupational therapist, and we used to have to write goals for our patients in a very, very specific, measurable way. And it was always kind of a joke because it was like there was so much nuance to everything that you could never capture in a goal, like or even in the way that you would eventually get to that outcome. And to be fair, those were outcome driven goals. But the way that it's valued over process or presence. So the idea of goals to me feels like it's part of a value system of outcome, performance, hustle, and achievement in ways that get in my way personally. Well, what about you? Like, because I'm aware sometimes I sit here in these episodes and I can feel the part of me that always wants to be like, "Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh," just so resistant. And I know that isn't the only side of the story. I'm always so quick to be on that side of things. And I feel like you represent a little of like the other side of, no, that can be helpful. It's not all negative, you know? And so I'm curious for you to take the reins a little bit on that, because I recognize that goals can be really productive. I just always need to preface the defense because of the pressure system.
Well, I think you and I could easily end up in a back and forth in this episode about the semantics and the language and the energy even around the word goals. But really, it's just, what are you aiming for? What is it that you want to be able to do or accomplish? Are we allowed to want to accomplish things in life and not make it mean? And here's the crucial thing, is what does it mean if you don't get the outcome that you were aiming for? And in kind of a hustle culture, it's just the goal is above everything. You don't change the goal, you change your approach. And so I think what you are probably leaning towards is the resistance against treating it as a black and white thing, treating it as something that you should have. If you don't have goals in life, like you are somehow not a high value person, because I think it just gets so intertwined, doesn't it, with high achievement and that kind of thing. I would say one of my more, I don't want to use the word shallow goals, but I want to, I'll just tell you it and we can work out what it is. So it's the kind of goal that I don't normally, because like I said, I don't like outcome goals, but it feels like a really important thing to me to reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I want that plaque. You get a plaque, 100,000.
I hear.
You get the big silver plaque. And I want that plaque. Even though I know that subscriber number is just a vanity metric. Same on Instagram, right? Doesn't matter. You can have thousands, tens of thousands of subscribers and only 5% of them see your stuff.
Yeah. Especially now.
I know this. Like, I know at the deeper level of why I do what I do, that subscriber number doesn't matter. But I desire it.
Do you think that is all vanity, though? I know a part of it is, and I know a part of it is an illusion, for sure, what you're talking about there. Is it all?
Well, it's a bit like, when we talk about like body image and things like that, is it vanity? It's like there's a deeper meaning. There's always more to it. I don't really believe in just vanity. There's always more to it. For me, if I got that plaque, there's lots of things that it would signify.
Right.
It would signify my capacity for consistency.
Yeah.
Which I've already been building up in me anyway. The fact that I've done it as frequently as I have, there's something about that. And I guess external recognition. The fact is, there were still 100,000 people out there who saw my channel and said, "I'd like to see your content." Yeah. Even if the algorithm doesn't show it to them.
Right.
There's something in that too. And the plaque. That plaque, to me, it would be absolutely, that would be a higher achievement than anything else I've done in my life.
Really?
When you look at because of the sheer amount of work that went into that.
But that work would exist whether you had the plaque or not.
Yes, but it's the physical signifier. Do you know what I mean? It is that the desire, the recognition, and this is why the meaning. Yeah. Go on.
Only because the rest will be there no matter what. Like you put out, your consistency is there now. It exists. The plaque is that someone else validated it, right? Like there is something external, but I don't think it's vanity. Always. Yes. Or not just. It's something, though, about our need to have. We've talked about this in the external validation episode. There is something about that is a need, I think, in humans.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean about the validation and the recognition, but even if nobody knew, right, and the plaque was generated by a computer, and I wasn't allowed to tell anyone that I had it. Having that physical thing,
I get that too.
I've imbued this physical object.
I know.
With a lot of meaning.
I know. This is a good question because I'm equating it to Instagram. I get it. Like the number, the count. But is this
it's the plaque.
It's also the body.
Like if I get 100,000 subscribers and they forgot to send me a plaque, I would be unreasonably devastated. Or they just stopped doing them. Let's say get to 100,000 subscribers. They're like, sorry, we're just not doing the plaques anymore. This is why, and again.
Oh, that's interesting to me. I don't have that relationship with the thing.
No, neither have I. This is why it's so big, because I don't have anything that's like that.
Okay. Is that, I don't know, is that meaningful or is it a manipulation? of our own minds and egos.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's why I'm laughing at myself
Yeah.
about it. And that's why I can watch myself like lusting over this thing.
On the other hand, listen though, when you've got a goal in mind like that, and when it is concrete, it is almost like it establishes more of a direct line from A to B. And there is a drive that comes with that direct line. Like when you can see the finish line of something or can see where you're going very clearly, there's a momentum that comes. And that is part of what then sets in motion a series of things that probably contribute to our self-esteem and even our what's it called? Um like what we produce for a community. What's that called? What we give. Like,
Service. What
yeah,
do you mean?
yeah, like
Yeah.
our a service, right? Like, and so that's where it's helpful, even if it is a vanity metric, or even if it is an ego-driven, like silly thing. It creates something that does maybe have a higher purpose because we do get self-esteem and energy from achieving things. And also that's what creates things for then you're also reaching then 100,000 people who saw one of your videos who might have needed to see it. There's something more there. So potentially that's why we as humans do respond to things like this, and that while it might have a certain amount of superficiality attached to it, there's something broader that it ends up leading us to that we do need collectively and individually. But I resent the ask. I wrote about passive goals a few weeks ago. Did you read this one about my hard-boiled eggs?
No.
It was in my weekly Wednesday emails a few weeks back. And I was talking about how 4 years ago or so, I had run a gentle nutrition course and everybody was talking about like it was like a meal prep conversation. And we were very much discussing like it doesn't need to be something you do every single Sunday, like this perfectionism around goals. And how at the time, I had recognized for myself that having hard-boiled eggs in my house on a regular basis was only helpful. I love eggs. My kids love eggs. It's quick, it's easy. It's one of those things that's just like always useful to me every single day in some way or another. But when I said, okay, I want to make hard-boiled eggs every week, it became this thing that like I can't keep up with, or I don't need to, I can be expected to do that. So what ended up happening was that over the course of 2 years, I sometimes made hard-boiled eggs and I sometimes didn't. And there would be times where I would make them every week consistently. And then there would be months where I didn't make them at all. And then I would return to it. And I now probably for the past year and a half to 2 years have had hard-boiled eggs in my refrigerator without fail. I don't think I've missed time on that. It's just part of my ritual and routine. But it was like a passive goal. It was like something I was like, I'm not going to put too much attention on this. It was the act of actually not intending to. It's the act of like putting something in the shadow that helped me feel like there wasn't such high stakes attached to it that I would then not do it. And it took years for that to happen. And I would say that most of my successes or achievements have come from completely organic processes like that, where they haven't had any intention, like not explicit attention, and certainly not goal language intention around them at all. And I think I do better that way. So there is some kind of place in my brain that carries an awareness of something that I want, and this is such a silly example with eggs, but like it's happened with work too, and motherhood and things. Like I would like this thing. This is something I have in a file in my brain, but I'm putting it in the back. I'm not bringing it up front because there's something different that happens to it when it's up front.
Yeah, we're talking about should, right? The minute it feels like something you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
there's that part that comes
Yeah.
up. As an aside, haven't you guys got an egg crisis going on in the US?
No, there was like lots of talk about like eggs. I mean, yeah, you're right. It comes and goes, but I haven't had any problems getting eggs recently.
I thought they were super expensive. How expensive?
They
How
are
much do you
expensive.
pay
They
for
have
eggs?
totally changed in price, but there's something that they're a staple here in this house, so we forego other things to have eggs. Like eggs aren't going anywhere.
like clothes and
Yeah, I'd much rather not get a new coat
yeah.
not have eggs.
One shower a week and you can have your eggs, kids.
Same.
Yeah.
I will, stop flushing the toilet so often to save the water bill. Speaking of which, I was at the gym the other day, and this man who must have been 90 years old walked up to me and said, "If it's brown, flush it down. And if it's yellow, let it mellow. You'll save water."
How old was this guy?
90 or so.
No.
He was
Have you
walking around
heard
the
that
gym.
before?
Public service announcement. What?
Have you heard that before?
I think so. I think a long
Yeah.
time ago I did hear that. Have you ever achieved a goal like that? Like a meaningful thing to you, like in a way that you didn't plan on or intend to?
Writing a book, for sure.
Yeah.
Because that, once I decided to do that, and I needed support, I needed accountability. Same with doing my psychotherapy degree. I needed the support of classmates, and we did 4 years of teaching, and then we had 3 years to write our dissertation. And our dissertation was like 24,000 words. It was a big piece of work. And a lot of people took a break after those 4 years because, like, you've got 3 years to write this thing. And I knew myself. I thought this is going to be really hard to keep this going. And I knew I needed the accountability. And so I'm sure I've shared this with you before, but me and my friend Gareth, we both of us wanted to get it done quickly. And so we set deadlines with each other. We set goals, if you
Yeah.
like. By this time, I'm going to send you this section and then this section, this section. And we wrote it together. And there was someone expecting
Yeah.
something from me. When I wrote my book, I was writing it with another woman who was writing her book at the same time. Plus, I was on a coaching scheme. But with this woman, what I would do is I would say to her on the days that I was writing, I'm going to write 4,000 words today, and I will send them to you. You don't need to read it, but you just need to see that I've done the 4,000 words. And that worked really,
Yeah.
really well for me. So there's the whole, and this is what they say though, isn't it? In goal language, you have your big goal and then you break it down into
Sure.
smaller goals.
I
And
understand.
I think it's just the word
It
that's
is the
smarting
words.
with you. It's the word, and once there's a should in there, if you take that and
Yeah.
that out, you're on board.
Yes, yes. And also when you're talking about these maybe it's the kind of goal, because when you're talking about that, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've been through grad school. Like I've done this, that, and the other." In that respect, I guess you could call that goals, like the things I've done. But when you're talking even about like writing a certain number of words per day, I don't mind talking about that as a goal. That doesn't bother me. I would love to write a book. I have thought about taking time off of work because
Do
I'm
it.
not going to be
Do
writing a
it.
book while I'm working. I'm
Yeah,
not. I
do
just
it.
know myself. Well, I would
Do
like
it.
to. And if I did, I would certainly be sitting down and being like, my goal is to do this by this. I would have to structure, i.e., plan that outline of time. And I wouldn't mind interchanging goal with plan. That's fine. Why is that different than the other ways in which I resent the word? Even when there is a
Culture.
should, because there can be. It can be like, I really should get this amount of writing done by this week to be on track for my plan. Like that should I don't resent.
It's culture. And also the other should is it comes from you. If you write a book, it's because you want to write the book. No one else apart from me is pressuring you to do it. So it's coming
Yeah.
from you. And when you're writing that structure and when you're deciding what you're going to do and when, there's an autonomy in that that is also intertwined with something that you really want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously a hoped for outcome as well.
Okay. But that reminds me then of people who struggle with food and body
Mhm.
image and stuff like that. And I myself have been in the position of feeling like, well, I want to weigh a certain amount or lose a certain amount of weight. And that feels like it's coming from me, right? Like even if it's culturally assigned, maybe if that's where it starts, it ends up becoming something you want for yourself. And that I think that is a place where goals often present themselves in health and body weight. Like is that the most common New Year's goal? Like, isn't it? I
Yes.
think.
Yes. And here's where my mind goes with that. There's something in there about conflict. Does
Mhm.
it throw you into conflict? And how deep is that conflict? Because there probably is going to be conflict around certain goals to some degree. Maybe I don't want to spend 3 hours writing or something like that, but I've made the decision and my desire to write overtakes that. The problem is, as I don't need to tell you, is that, when you've got the pursuit of something like weight loss, there are other needs in other parts of you that are being squashed. They're protesting in other ways, and you're in conflict, but you haven't even really understood what that conflict is. And also, it's adding to a kind of cultural pressure that
Yeah.
is problematic
Yeah.
for a huge number of
Agree.
people, which writing a book isn't, depending what
Exactly.
you're writing about, of course.
Right. Like if I had some kind of identity attached, well, then there is, I would say, like, and there's an identity attached to writing a book. And I'm not going to say there's not, actually, but there's not a whole system around it. You know what I mean? It's not such a an energetically driven thing, that it would carry something that would make me feel like if I didn't do it, I would have failed. I still would. Like, I still would feel like I failed, but not in a way that carries such a cultural significance. And I
Mhm.
think there's something in that high stakes versus lower ish stakes, or personal stakes versus external stakes, that you're right. I also think there's a difference in a biologically driven conflict. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
that it's not always about even just the psychology, but also the physiology that's different. And that could still apply if I'm trying to write a book or do anything, and I don't physiologically have a capacity to do that. For example, if I'm feeling depressed, or if I'm feeling like, or if I have chronic fatigue, and I'm not able to do that from an energetic point of view, maybe there's something to do with feeling calmer around goals where there is capacity, and that it is a matter of orienting the energy towards something, but that there wouldn't be a shortage of it if I did, or there wouldn't be a compromise inside of my body if I did, or even psychologically. I wouldn't resent that. And I think it could be helpful. And I think it could it's clarifying. Sometimes goals are just about clarity and simplifying something so that we don't get distracted by other things. And I can appreciate that lens of it. That said, did you ask what's my goal for 2026?
I asked if you had any
Oh,
goals
yeah,
slash
a
plan. Well,
plan, you said.
then I'd said the word plan,
All right.
and you said there was a couple of work things, but
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
tight-lipped about what they were.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but yeah, but I still don't feel like I have a goal. I have things that I'm thinking about and working on, both work related and personally, that I am always sort of doing. And I don't know if it'll be 2026 or not, but I'm always in pursuit of that. I just don't look at it as a goal.
Well, just when you were talking then, what popped into my head was just thinking about the word goal and then thinking of sports. You aim for a goal, right? There's something about a goal that feels like taking a shot at something. And that is very different than, in my mind, than saying, I'm going to write 3,000 words today. The
Oh,
taking a
taking a
shot,
shot. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I like that.
yeah, but it's the pressure, right? Think of some
Yeah.
of these major sports games where someone has to take a penalty or something like that, and it's the pressure is immense, and I'll be watching it and I'm feeling the pressure. I feel sick for them. Like, how do they do that? So that's this sort of extreme end of these high stake goals. I am intrigued by this idea of accepting what is, just being in the beingness and allowing life to unfold versus driving for something.
Yeah.
And the dance between those two, in my mind, because I have a friend who she is incredible. Like, she loves her meditation. She is, this amazing person I have the most respect and admiration for. And she's always saying to me, and talk about there are different things that maybe I want to do. She's encouraging me to just be, which I feel like I do have times when I do be.
I get it. I think we all get it.
And times when I push. And I might think of it as the contraction
Yeah.
and then the release, the contraction, the release, the contraction, the release. And I guess the problem is or the challenges, I think there's a cost for people who become extremely driven, extremely goal oriented, is that you then live in the contraction. And where's the release? And there's a price to pay somewhere else for living
Yes.
in that contracted space. So yeah, maybe there's also something about bucking back against the idea of not being allowed to release.
Or about what the pursuit of a goal involves.
Mhm.
I have a client who I've been working with on WhatsApp for about a year, and she herself is a coach. And so she initially came in with this goal of figuring out what it was that actually, she originally came in with the food stuff. And then that was like, okay. And then she's like, I want to hone in on what my focus really is in my coaching. And I want to keep allowing that to evolve. And so at first, it was all about figuring out where her alignment was and talking about how she might incorporate nervous system work with her clients and like, so there was all this focus. And then we reached this point where she was like, I don't want to do this anymore. She's like, I just want to be. I want to cook and read and go into the city and enjoy myself and just be with my friends. And she likes to talk about politics. And so she's taken this big step back from that pursuit at all, right? And so it's been about 4 or 5 months of her just being like, you know what, I just kind of want the support to stay where I am, to be where I am, and to figure out who I am almost. And ironically, or maybe not, recently she's had this resurgence of creativity and ideas for her work and what she wants to do. And she's like starting a journaling workshop and she's got this Substack and she's put it all together in this way where the personal expansion has folded right into her professional goals. And it's clearer now. And it's like, it's almost like when you step back and you watch that whole thing, it's like that was a goal she started out with that completely incorporated what looked like a rejection of the goal or a break from the goal that was actually very much a part of it, and all comes together at the end. And I think if we, in hustle culture, that's not valuable. That's not the way that we talk about things. And so it's like redefining how long things take and the process. And I think if we had more cultural alignment on letting more things be, letting presence be a part of pursuit, that I would not have this resistance around it. Or maybe it's just that the way that I think about goals is not the way that we talk about goals. And I, uh, I don't need to keep talking. Like that's just what the end of that was.
That was like your power supply just started there.
Well, it wasn't. It was just like, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing in a different way, which is how every time I edit the podcast, I'm like, stop doing that. Just end the sentence.
Well, what do you think of just the concept of like masculine and feminine energies?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, like the
I think
words,
it's
the
valid.
language and all of that.
I think it's valid. I
All
think
that.
we need both. And I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think that I didn't know whether the language with masculine and feminine was,
No, I like it.
even made
Yeah, I
sense
get
to you.
it. Like yin and yang.
Yeah. So like the masculine is normally considered as much more the driven, action-oriented, protection, that kind of thing. And the feminine is the softer, more nurturing, like caretaking side. Again, like with the yin and yang, that the goals and the action can feel very masculine.
Yeah. This is so funny. Go ahead.
Was it going?
This is a huge conversation I have with that client. Like you picked up on it.
Can I say? Maybe that's what I got from the retreat. Come back as like an intuitive that could just pick up.
Yeah.
Mind reading, even more helpful.
Yeah. Well, and some people need masculine energy, right? Like sometimes maybe we are coming from a place more of releasing for a long time. Like there is merit to the masculine and there is merit to the hustle even at times. There's a place for that. I just think there's an overemphasis of it and it's imbalancing the other. And so I'm always going to be fighting for the underdog. I do think that there is an inherent nature of humans to pursue and to have goals, which is really another way of saying evolve. We naturally do evolve. And I think presence is not different than that. We think of being as somehow different from having a goal. And I don't think so. I think that they work together.
Yeah. And would you say having an intention and having a goal is different?
Yeah. I think I have intentions.
Yeah.
I don't think I have goals. Intentions are, maybe this is a personality difference. And I feel like it's very anti-American of me to say this, but I don't like having goals because there's something about it that feels very rah-rah. Like it feels very like, yay, you, hooray, celebrate. Like, I don't know, there's something about like achieving the goal. And I'd much rather have an intention that's quieter that nobody knows about, like that the spotlight isn't there. And I feel like that the intention doesn't have a spotlight and goals do. And but you can also love a good rah-rah, like lots of people do. And lots of people really want it. I just don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people are, especially if because going into the new year, people often make resolutions and set goals and think about the year ahead. And I've shared in other places that on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I think I usually do it, I record a video to myself and I reflect on the year that's just gone. And I talk about the year to come and I think of it more like, these are some of the things that I might hope for. Like, I hope these things happen this year. And, yeah, it's very much a ramble. And then I watch it the next year
Yeah.
as well. The year that I ended up writing my book, I had no intention. I thought my book was a couple of years away. And then I ended up in a situation where I made this commitment and I decided very spontaneously, okay, I'm going to write the book now. And then I had no idea, I didn't even remember. But when I watched that video back, I'd said, I want to find a way to write and get into more writing. That was what I'd said. So it wasn't going in going, this is going to be the year that I
Yeah.
write my book. But there was obviously something in the intention of putting out there around writing. And I couldn't believe it when I watched it back because I had no memory of that whatsoever. So I did try the outcome goal. One year I was like, I want to get, I can't remember what it was, whatever number it was a numbers thing on YouTube this year. And like nothing close. And then it just irritated me. And I was like, see,
Yeah.
this is why I don't do these outcome goals like that. It needs to be very much about showing up. How do I want to show up rather than what is the thing that I want to produce? Because when I focus on how I want to show up, the production or what comes out sort of takes care of itself.
Yes. That's just very hard to trust. I think when we have something when we're in scarcity or maybe when we're attached to some kind of outcome and then we're like, okay, well, I'll go about getting the outcome by not really wanting the outcome. It's kind of like,
Yeah. Well, it was when I wrote the first book because I didn't, I hadn't even started my YouTube channel when I was writing that book. I remember thinking, I just want to be able to have written a book. And if it is a load of rubbish, if it doesn't make sense and I, haven't communicated it well, it's just going to kind of fizzle away into the ether anyway. And I really did. I kept coming back to that because, of course, there's always a part of me that hopes it's going to be a good book and that it's going to do well. But I really had to keep coming to that. It is okay. It is enough to have just done a book, even if it turns out to not be as good. And I was able to hold some real genuine intention around that. And I think it is what has made doing another book so difficult because it's so hard to let go of an outcome of a second book. When you've written one book, there are people who will buy the second book because they read the first one. And it just feels like a whole other level of pressure. Like I don't have permission to put out a load of crap. And I wouldn't intentionally put out a load of crap, if it just turned out to be a load of
obviously.
crap. Because when you're in it, you're like, you don't know whether what you're saying really makes sense to another person
Yeah.
because you've been writing it, you've been back and forth out of order and all of this kind of thing. Does it actually build and read the way you want it to read? I didn't know whether what I'd written was any good. And that was terrifying putting that out there because I honestly did not know.
That's why I don't like to.
So when are you going to take that time off and write your book?
I don't want to. That's the reason why I don't want to. It's like I want to write a book that has like individual chapters, like a whole bunch of Instagram posts, but I don't want to like a cohesive.
That's okay.
Whole.
A book of essays then. Yeah, you just write a
that's
book of
more
essays.
like my jam.
Just don't call them essays. And people call them a collection of essays. I'm always like, I'm not reading your essay.
What would you call it?
Just don't say. Just write it as essays, and then people will just read it at that.
Oh.
You don't need to announce it on the front. Hey, read my school. Hey, the word school in front of it. School essay. Hey, read my book report. No, I don't want to read your homework.
Well, do you want to share an intention for the year?
Oh, that's good. Well, just for the listeners, on our previous podcast, we've always picked a word for the following year. And my word for the 2025, do you remember what my word for 2025 was?
I know 2024 was home.
Yes.
Or was it?
Yeah. No, yeah. Last year's was not. Yeah. 2024 was home.
Yeah.
And I ended up buying a home.
Right.
And
last year's. What was 2025?
Yeah. That's what I'm asking you whether you remember. I think the answer's no.
I don't remember mine.
I know yours.
You do? Good. See, I don't stick with them. I don't remember either.
Okay. Your word was now.
Oh, yeah.
About being in the now.
That's been true.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine was novelty.
Oh, yeah.
I was scared that every day was going to look exactly the same.
That was a year
and I
ago?
wasn't going to do. Yes, that was a year ago, my friend.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I would be tempted to do something similar because it feels like a tradition of ours now.
Okay.
A word. But I might need to edit out a bit of thinking because I genuinely have not thought. Oh, so basically, I guess when I'm thinking about my intention for next year, actually, yes, I do have quite a clear intention for next year, and that is to bring more people together in person. So I know that I want to do that. Can you help me think of a word that
Yeah.
encapsulates that? Community, maybe?
Yeah.
You know, my mind, it's in person. So yeah, I think my word for next year is community. That was quicker than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. It's like you thought about it.
I just went with my instinct. See, that's the gifts from the retreat.
Yeah. See, it did something. I have you know me. I always need two. My first instinct was to say the word yes because Bethany Frankel, who I am not a fan of, wrote a book called The Book of Yes, or no, A Place of Yes, I think it's called. And I remember at the time, probably when I first started working in this, probably the year I recovered, I bought that book. And there's something about my instinct to say no right away, as per this episode. Like I do that all the time. I'm defensive first. And there's something about letting that drop a little bit and coming at it from like, what if it was yes, that I immediately thought of and feels part of like now and then yet.
Yeah.
Like there's something
Yeah.
connected there to me.
Yeah.
But then there was another voice in my head that was like, oh, what was now I've lost the second. So maybe that's just the best one to go
Yes.
with. Yeah, because I've already lost what my other voice was saying.
So next year is the year to ask you for favors.
Why?
Because you have to say yes.
Oh, yes, I see. I meant like for next year's word. But then I was thinking it would be an interesting experiment to try, for me personally, to try to have a goal. Would I prove myself wrong? I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, what if I said my goal for 2026 was to, and I don't want to say it out loud because like I don't like this, but and I'm not gonna say it out loud, but if I journal to myself or something and I actually create a goal, I would be curious to see next year how that all panned out. Like, and if I would have to eat my words.
But you wouldn't share it with anybody.
No, but I would know. And it would inform the way I talk about this.
Then it's the same as a plan. Like you're
What do
saying,
you
almost
mean?
part of the goal is like the raw thing, and you know,
Oh.
and so you need people in your corner knowing that you're going for
No,
this
then I'm not
goal.
going to achieve it. I think in either case, I need it to be quiet. I'm not doing this for other people's kudos. Like I need to do it for me. But I don't even name goals to myself because this is what I'm talking about. What if I named a
I
goal to
know
myself?
that's I
What if I assigned something specific to myself? What would happen? And I might come back and be like, "Holy crap, goals work." Or I'd be like, "They don't," and I feel so much worse about myself. Thanks for that.
But how is that different from what you're doing? Because if you have a plan, let's say you're like, oh, I want to set up this course, or I want to set up a
Because it's
membership, or I
not a
want to do
goal.
this, and
It's
I
not
want to do that.
specific.
Well, then what would be? I don't even know, because that to me is a goal. So I guess I just can't conceptualize what the difference is between what it is you're thinking you might do versus what you do anyway. What's the difference?
An outcome,
Okay.
but more definitive. For example, my current way of doing things is like I have this idea for having a community in my like it's not I don't like member it's not membership. It's just like a community with information and like it's like a hub and I want
Mhm.
it's like a setup on my website. But if it takes me until 2027 or never, like it might go a different way and I would be okay with that. I'm completely open to letting that evolve. Whereas what I'm talking about here would be like writing a book, which
Mhm.
is for 2026, write a book. And there's no other way of bringing that. Like it's just
Yes.
that you know what I'm saying? So there's something about the decision to achieve it versus my like I'd like to be doing this, but if I don't do it, I'm okay with that too. That's the
Okay.
difference.
Yes. So there's a certainty. It's kind of like you're not negotiating with yourself. You're saying, I'm going to do this, probably with a time frame as well. That part of it.
Yeah, a time frame and like a this sense of this is happening versus the other kind, which is like, I don't know if it's the right thing for me. It might be. I'll pursue it, but I'm not sold on it
Yeah.
entirely, or I'm not sure I have capacity for it. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
something different there.
So it's almost like not giving yourself an out.
Mm. Yes, but that's not why that sounds wrong because it's the reason I'm not giving myself an out on the first one. It's just that I'm open to it evolving in a way that feels more right. Like where versus this would be much more concretely the goal. I don't picture the other one the way I picture a goal. I'll talk. I don't know. We'll see. Now I feel like we've corrupted it.
Yeah.
What are your goals, listeners?
Yeah. Anyone else picking a word? Is that just so 2023 or something? Like no one else is still
People
picking
like
words
that. I think people
except for
like that.
me. I love it.
I don't love it, but but I do it every year. But people,
You
listeners
indulge
like it.
me.
I've had clients who listen who are like, I love your I
Yeah.
know they're listening right now.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I know who you are. Um,
Yeah.
who like the word. So I would say let us know, but on YouTube you could let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Do so. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Okay, everybody. Well, Happy New Year, listeners.
Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year, Steph.
Happy New Year to you. 2026. Rah rah.
Rah, rah.